In 2023, the original Mario movie was released to the masses, and it made millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars for Nintendo and Illumination. When it was announced, I didn't have very high expectations for it. For one thing, it was Nintendo's first movie. We're not counting the early 90s Mario movie. We're going to ignore that one. On the other hand, I am not a fan of Illumination Studios. Never have been. I've always felt that their animation is kind of B grade, a little bit cheapened compared to like Pixar and DreamWorks. But what they do know is how to target kids. So the movie was announced. Of course, I had to go see it. I have been playing Mario games since I was 5 or 6 years old, if not younger. And also my daughter really wanted to go watch it. So we went to go see it, and it met my expectations, which means not much. I think the saving grace for it, apart from the myriad of Mario references throughout the entire film, is that it is an origin story. It tells the story of Mario and Luigi becoming the downtrodden plumbers in New York to the saviors of the Mushroom Kingdom. I think everybody generally loves an origin story, and the origin story in here is the one thing that was able to tie the movie together. It wasn't a great movie. For me, it was more or less a one and done kind of thing, but I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I got to experience it. I'd say that the first Mario movie was a great commercial success. I think it tracked over $1 billion worldwide, but it was not a critical success by any means. I don't think that really matters to anybody, honestly. I wouldn't expect critics to be lavishly praising a movie made specifically for kids like this. It is typically rare for that to happen. That said, I think they took a lazy way out with it. I think they could have done more. I think there could have been better character developments. I think the story could have been a little more in depth, but it was also their first outing. It told a decent story with the origin stories of Mario and Luigi, so there's not a whole lot to complain about with it if you take it at face value. In 2025, they announced the Super Mario Galaxy movie. The movie everybody knew was coming, was teased at the end of the first movie. So again, my expectations were set pretty low for the follow-up movie. I'm going to go into some detail around Super Mario Galaxy here, and this is going to have some spoilers in it, but honestly, there's not a whole lot to spoil. There's one or two major story beats that I'll ignore, but for the most part, you've been warned. I think if I had to summarize the Super Mario Galaxy movie, it is that it is a Mario platforming story told in movie form. That's about it. It has the same kind of pacing that you would expect from a video game. They try to keep you interested with non-stop action, jumping back into things, without a whole lot of, let's say, negative space in between. There isn't really a lot of time in the movie to sit back and understand what's been happening between the big action and fight sequences. The movie basically jumps from one fight to the next without a chance to breathe. So I'll say, as an adult, if that's what you expect and if that's what you're looking for, along with the non-stop deluge of Nintendo and Mario references, I think you're going to be satisfied. If you're a kid, you're not going to care about any of that. And that also kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about critics. Critics' opinions are not really mattering for these kinds of movies. Nintendo knows that kids are going to watch it. Illumination knows that kids are going to watch it, and they don't really care what the critics think. But the fact is, they're going to be laughing all the way to the bank with this, I'm sure, easily topping $1 billion like the first Mario movie did. So again, the watching experience of the movie is just fast-paced, non-stop, never a chance to take a break, and there are so many more Mario and Nintendo references in this film than there was in the first one, to the point I think the story was essentially written for that purpose. There are references in the movie here that you would not expect. Star Fox is a popular example. He pops in, he takes up, I think, more screen time than the star of the show, or who you think would be the star of the show, Rosalina. He comes off as a really cool, not nice kind of 80s vibe. I did appreciate Star Fox's presence in it. He was probably the best new character that was added to the film. But therein, I think, lies one of the problems of the movie, in that the film is not about Star Fox. The film, I thought, was supposed to be about Rosalina. As the movie continues on, it is so ingrained in itself to have as many Mario references as it can. I don't think the story really matters in the slightest. It is very much as I said, a very typical Mario platformer type story. It starts with Rosalina being kidnapped by Baby Bowser, and then people have to go save Rosalina, the princess. We've all seen it before. The movie is chock full of references to the point that you almost get tired of them towards the end. You almost wish that there was something more original that they could do besides another reference to Mario games. I want to do a bit of a deep dive why I think the story was set up just to have Mario references throughout the film. The story itself is very, very slim, as I said. Bowser kidnaps Rosalina. Rosalina gets a message over to Peach, who then runs off on her own in order to save Rosalina. Why would she go off on her own when she has Mario and Luigi with her? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. Peach is extremely strong. She's an extremely strong character in the Mario movies. But it would make sense for her to take her best friends, her new best friends, with her on this magical adventure through the universe. But she doesn't. She leaves them behind without telling them anything, really. So then you have this divergence where Peach goes off to the Gateway Galaxy to find a way to get to Rosalina. Mario and Luigi have to stick around and protect the Mushroom Kingdom while Peach is gone. They become like the stewards of the Mushroom Kingdom. And then a really neat sequence based on Super Mario World 3, like the maps, plays out, where there's like a whole map thing and they move from dot to dot, solving these problems for the Toads and such. It's a nice little sequence, but narratively speaking, like, to me it doesn't make sense that Peach would leave Mario, Luigi, and her Toads to do this. I don't even get a sense that she knows who Rosalina is. She has a bit of a flashback, but is that enough to drive her to leave the Toads that she was so desperate to save previously? No, I don't think so. I don't think it makes sense. But this does serve a great narrative point in by creating this divergence of the characters. Now you can have Mario references with Mario and Luigi, and you can have a lot of Mario references with Peach. You can have that divergence so they can throw in as many references as they can. As I said, Mario and Luigi have this wonderful Mario Brothers 3 reference. Peach goes off and goes to the Gateway Galaxy, and then she experiences this awesome Super Mario Brothers 2 reference and a whole boss fight featuring, I guess, the main bad guy from Mario 2. I don't know, I never beat it. So there's this awesome boss fight between her and that guy at the Gateway Galaxy, and eventually they meet back up at Gateway Galaxy. Mario and Luigi meet her there, and that's where they meet Star Fox. I know it's a story, right? You have to have ups and downs, you have to have the action sequences, but it really feels like they did that just so they can stretch out the story and make the movie longer, because they really don't have anything there. There's no substance to almost any of it. And then this whole time, the movie starts with Rosalina, and you think the movie's going to be about Rosalina, but she has less screen time, I think, than Star Fox does. Obviously I didn't time it, but it feels like Star Fox was a bigger player in the story as a whole than Rosalina. Rosalina was just a MacGuffin, it almost seems like. She was kidnapped in the beginning, you see her a couple times throughout, and she's the goal to go save. I mean, I guess that is very fitting to a Mario story, but for a movie, it's not enough. Something is missing there from a story perspective for a movie. The movie really relies on the fast action sequences, jumping from one point to the next, and just the deluge of references coming at you nonstop in order to keep your interest. And again, it works great for kids, but as a millennial who loves Mario, this is a one and done kind of movie, just like the first one was. I'm glad I watched it, I'm glad I experienced it, but if this is the direction they're going, I have no interest in watching more of them. I say that now, and probably 2 years from now, they're going to release another Mario movie or a Star Fox movie or something, and I'm going to be there to watch it opening weekend because I can't resist. And I guess maybe that's also why they do this, right? You know, if I can't resist, then I'm going to go watch it. Why should they make a better movie than what they've made? I mean, again, Illumination, I think, knows how to target kids. They've proven that again and again with the movies they make. They don't go for big budget action blockbusters, big cinematic feel like How to Train Your Dragon or The Wild Robot kind of thing. They make things that are geared towards kids. Like I think they made the Despicable Me so they can make the Minions, so they can have an excuse to make the Minions, so then they can make billions off of the Minions. And Illumination is a masterclass in, I think, manipulating marketing and kids in order to bring that money in. But when it comes to making, like, I personally think high quality animated films, they're not there. They're not the ones. I was disappointed when Nintendo chose Illumination versus Pixar or DreamWorks. There was one glimmer of hope throughout the movie that I wish could have got more attention, and that is the relationship between Bowser Jr. and Bowser. At the end of Mario 1, Bowser is shrunk down through a mini mushroom or whatever it's called. And in the beginning of Mario Galaxy, he's still tiny whiny, but he's trying to become a better person. You don't know if you should believe him or not. They actually do play that off pretty well. He wants to be a better person, and he wants to impress Mario and Luigi so he can become big again, so they will let him go, and then he can be a good Koopa after that. Luigi's all in buying it. Mario, of course, is extremely doubtful about the whole thing. Through some happenstance, Bowser actually upsets Mario enough that Mario throws him on the ground and stomps on him, and that makes Bowser large again. And what does Bowser do? Not what Mario feared. Bowser actually picks up Mario and kisses him and says, "You will not regret this." There's a scene after that where Bowser actually sacrifices himself in a way to allow Mario and Luigi to get to the Gateway Kingdom, or the Gateway Galaxy, to meet with Peach. I think that does show that Bowser is trying to be a better Koopa. Maybe he is actually over being evil and wanting to take over the universe. Maybe he wants to turn a new leaf and be a good guy. And there's enough there to it, there's enough nuance to it that you can believe it. So after that, Bowser Jr. essentially rescues Bowser from someplace, and Bowser Jr. takes Bowser over to the Death Star that he built and reminds Bowser why he's evil. See, Bowser Jr. was told this story by his dad at some point that everybody hated them and everybody kicked them out of everywhere they went, so they were going to build a Death Star, a star for them to live on, and then build a giant cannon that would destroy the universe and they would take over everything, right? Typical Bowser stuff. And Bowser Jr. still had that in his heart. He hadn't had that growth that Bowser did between Mario 1 and Mario Galaxy. And Bowser Jr. actually reminds Bowser that, hey, you are a bad guy. You're the king of the Koopas. You're supposed to be destroying things and you want to kill Mario and Luigi, or whatever the case, right? You want to do all these terrible, evil things. And Bowser suddenly says, oh yeah, I am the bad guy. I'm supposed to be doing these things. He says, okay, Koopas, let's go attack the universe and take over everything. It all happens so fast and there's not enough time in order to digest it all. It's just like I don't know, it's just too much, right? It's just like the boomerang effect. You don't know what to believe in. Is Bowser good? Is Bowser bad? Is Bowser just playing along because he loves his son? You don't really know. But at the end of the movie, there is a little scene that almost skips by where Mario and Luigi had already defeated Bowser and Bowser Jr. And Bowser Jr. gets basically eaten by a dragon. But then Bowser looks up at his son and he's like, there's true concern. There's true concern and compassion for the safety of his son. And Mario looks over on Bowser and he sees that. And Mario, without saying a word, takes action to go attack the dragon to save Bowser Jr. so that way Bowser Jr. and Bowser can be together again. You see them having a little moment of compassion and love and affection, but then it kind of ends. As in, like, the movie basically ends after that. There's a sequence where they rebuild the castle, which is kind of neat, but it's just another Mario reference, this time using Super Mario World, and then the whole thing ties together, wraps up, and it's done. There's never a chance for the story to actually develop. And I think that they really missed an opportunity by focusing more on the relationship between Bowser and Bowser Jr. and having just a little bit more after that bit to show, is Bowser good or not? Does he go back to Bowser Jr. and then they decide to take over the universe again or not? And maybe I'm looking into too much. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to know. Maybe they're going to tie that into the next movie or something. I don't know. To me, it just feels like something that they thought they had enough closure there for it, but it's missing. There's just not enough there in order for me to be satisfied with it. To wrap things up here, overall, I think the movie is fine. I'm glad I went and watched it. I watched it with my family, and we had a good time. Of course, my daughter loved it a lot more than I did. I don't know which one she likes more. My wife also enjoyed the movie quite a bit. And like I said, I'm glad I watched it. I don't care to really ever see it again. But overall, it's a fine movie, and I'm sure they're going to make another one. And they're probably going to make a Star Fox spinoff, and they're probably going to make a Donkey Kong spinoff. Donkey Kong was sadly lacking entirely from this movie, and I think that's also missing a beat because I think Donkey Kong was a favorite from the first one. Overall, I think the movie is just a 98-minute commercial for Nintendo stuff. I feel like you're paying $10 or $15 to go see this movie, and you're paying to go see a commercial for Mario stuff. You'll hear a lot of conflicting thoughts coming out of me on this because there kind of is. Like, I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I watched it, but at the same time, I don't want to see it again. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.